So this isn't a video that I want to make. It's never an easy thing to admit when you're wrong and you made a mistake, especially in front of 4,000 people. But I really screwed up, so I have to own that mistake and address it, especially if I plan on coming back to this channel and making more videos, which I still haven't decided fully on whether or not I'm gonna do that. Making a pretty big mistake on my first video back in 3 months is not a good sign of what's to come, I guess. But I just want to get ahead of it before it becomes a big thing. So far, there hasn't been too much negative reception on my last video. There were a few comments pointing out the mistakes that I made, but for the most part, the video has a really good like to dislike ratio, and seems like people are just excited to have me back, which I didn't expect. And I kind of feel bad that I let people down, but let me just address it and acknowledge what I did wrong. So in my video that I posted yesterday, my first video back in over 3 months, I was making a video about these news websites spreading fake news and false information about the Steam Deck. Specifically, I was talking about these websites like Game Informer that were saying that there are certain games that just cannot run on the Steam Deck at all. Games like Destiny 2, PUBG, Paladins, Rainbow Six Siege, etc., etc. There are like only 11 of them, I think. But the point I was making in the video is that it's just simply not true. It's not true that those games just cannot run on the Steam Deck, because these articles are saying that on the false pretense that you can only run Steam OS on the Steam Deck and can't run Windows or any other operating system. Except Valve has confirmed multiple times that you can run Windows and other OSs on the Steam Deck. Valve isn't going to restrict you as to what you can and can't install. But Game Informer in their article said that Valve didn't say anything about Windows, which isn't true. So that was some false information provided by some of these websites. Because yes, even though you can't run Destiny 2, you can't run PUBG, you can't run Rainbow Six on SteamOS because the anti-cheat is not compatible with Proton. But if you just install Windows, then that resolves that problem completely. Okay, so here's where I fucked up. There were a few things I said in the video that weren't entirely accurate. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of a hypocrite because I made a video calling out the fake news and I was, in a way, sort of spreading fake news, but that definitely wasn't intentional. So the big mistake I made was at a certain point in the video, it wasn't even what I said in the actual video, but rather a thing of text that I put up on the video that stated that you can't run Modern Warfare on the base model Steam Deck because the base Steam Deck only has 64 gigabytes of storage, and games like Modern Warfare and a lot of other games, they require way more than 64 gigs just to run the game. I currently have Modern Warfare installed in my PC, and it takes up 133 gigabytes, which is more than double the size of what the base model Steam Deck can hold. Where I fucked up, though, is where I said that you can't run it at all, which is not a true statement, or at least it would have been if I said that you can't run Modern Warfare on the base model Steam Deck unless you're willing to pay for more storage. Because with the Steam Deck, that's an option. And that would be in the form of a micro SD card. The same ones that are used on the Nintendo Switch. And you can get a 128 gigabyte micro SD card at this point for less than $20. And then if you want to go all the way up to 500 gigabytes, it'll cost you $85, which is actually pretty reasonable. So that was my mistake for not including that information in the original video that I made, because I kind of implied that there's no way to expand your storage. Even though I didn't say you can't, I also didn't say that you can. So that was a big fuck up. And the thing is, I did know before I recorded the video that you could use a micro SD card on the Steam Deck. It's not like I didn't know. I did know, and I decided not to include it in the video. Because my way of thinking was that, well, yeah, you can expand your storage, but I didn't think it was relevant to bring it up because most people, when they buy a system, they think that they can run everything on it out of the box. And in the case of games like Modern Warfare, there's just no way that you can. With the $400 64 gigabyte Steam Deck. Unless you pay for more storage, which I should have mentioned, and I'm sorry that I didn't. But I think the rest of the video was fine. There was one thing where people were kind of criticizing me for saying that you're gonna have to install Windows on the Steam Deck if you want to play every single game that you possibly can. People thought I was saying that there's absolutely no way to play any game outside of Steam without having Windows, which is not what I meant to say at all. I know you can play certain Battle.net games like Overwatch and World of Warcraft, and even some Epic Store games. And you can do that through programs like Wine and Proton, which allow you to run native Windows programs on Linux. But it doesn't work 100%. And you're still going to need Windows if you want to play the games that don't work on Linux at all because of the anti-cheat. And then there are games like Fortnite that, even through all these programs, they still run like absolute shit on Linux. So I meant to say, if you want to play every game that you possibly can on the Steam Deck, Windows will be necessary. At least for now. I know Valve is making progress with the anti-cheat and making that compatible with SteamOS, and Proton and Wine are only getting better and better over time with compatibility. But as of now, you can play a significant amount of more games on Windows than you can on Linux/SteamOS. But of course, that can change in the future. So that part of the video, it was true, but I could have said it better. And then the thing with the storage, I should have definitely included more information because I was kind of being misleading without having that context that you can expand the storage on the Steam Deck. So I'm very sorry for making those mistakes. I figured it would be a lot better to just acknowledge that it happened instead of trying to sweep it under the rug and tell myself I did nothing wrong, because that would just be a lot. And I've been doing a lot of deep reflection on myself as a person and my life and everything, and even YouTube. I've come to the realization that I'm far from perfect. There's a lot of improvement that I still have left to do. And I just need to keep growing, learning from my mistakes, and trying to better myself every single day. And I know it kind of sounds like bullshit talk, but losing my father a few weeks ago definitely changed my perspective on a lot of things. So I figured the best I could do in this situation is just acknowledge what happened and promise to do better. There's really nothing else I could do besides that. Hopefully you guys can accept that. But if not, I understand.